WNYU, WNYU, and the legendary Mojo Nixon, along with Skid Roper from the latest LP called Frenzy, and a song called I Hate Banks. Well, in here, eating his ice cream is Blixabargeld from Einstürzende. Whoa. You want to pronounce it?
Einstürzende Neubauten.
Made it.
You made it much better like 5 minutes ago when you said it.
How are you doing? You just arrived in New York about a couple of days ago.
Yesterday.
Okay. And you're going to be playing at the Palladium tonight.
Right.
With the band. Now, how's the tour? How's the tour been going so far?
Fine.
Okay.
So far.
Well, why don't we talk about the kind of sound that? Why don't we talk about where the sound came from? You're sort of classified as like an industrial band.
We're sort of classified as that, yeah, but I don't like that very much.
Okay. Do you find yourself fitting into the category of Test Department or Cabaret Voltaire? Do you
Never
feel?
heard of them.
How would you classify your sound? I mean, what are you sort of driving at? What kind of ideas or concepts are you trying to drive at?
I don't know.
Well, now, I mean, one of the things that your band is known for doing is before a show going around and trying to find various objects. What do you look for in a musical instrument?
Well, that's definitely true, but that's just a matter because they're too heavy to transport. Well, we can't afford to transport it. That's why we have to look for these things all the time again. We've sometimes had the trouble to find them right in time, but we've never had the trouble to find them at all. There are favorite pieces that Andrew transports around for a while and then drops somewhere, and there are pieces that Mufti transports around for a while and then drops. Different metal sheets, corrugated iron, pipes, a shopping cart, springs, things like that. I never go around because I'm not playing on it. I'm just singing.
Okay. Have there been any favorites? Has there been any equipment you found that you sort of keep with you?
Oh yeah, sure.
What kind of things do you hang on to?
I don't know. They're all like stay with us for a while. Like.
Okay. So that's sort of. Okay. Now, can you get your songs to translate onto stage? Can you
translate? What are you talking about? I'm not translating them.
Well, what I mean is, can you get your songs? You have a certain. You're not just getting up onto stage and experimenting? Are you improvising on stage with what you find?
A little bit.
So generally, you adhere to strict song structures.
No.
How would you describe? How would you describe?
It's something in between being playing improvised music and having fixed song structures.
Okay. Now, when the band gets together to put together various compositions, how do you go about putting?
That's a different story for every song, definitely.
How would the general?
There's no general constants that all these songs got in common. There's a different story for each song.
Okay. Now, what's happening now is you're touring right before an album is scheduled to come out. You've got an album scheduled to come out this fall. Now, how's
Heavy? I didn't know that.
You don't? Is there an album scheduled for release?
Well, you said that. I didn't say that. No.
Okay. Well,
it's not an album scheduled to come out.
Are there plans to record an album?
Yeah.
In the near future?
There's an album almost recorded.
When do you plan on releasing it?
3 or 4 months.
Okay. Now, what made the band decide to tour before the album was released?
I don't care if there's an album going to be released or not. I have to tour to survive.
So you're more concerned with the touring than actually putting the albums together?
No, we were about to put the album together, but we've had this tour already scheduled before.
Okay. Now, what we're going to do is...
There was an offer to tour, and that's what we do now.
Okay.
It hasn't got anything to do with the album release or not.
Okay. Now, you came to the United States for the first time about 2 years ago. Now, is there a difference between how you feel about American audiences and your German following back home? Have you been well received?
American audiences are easy to convince.
How so?
What?
How so? How are they receptive to what you're doing? Do they understand what's going on?
No, I think in general they're easy to convince.
Do you appreciate? Would you rather be playing in front of a German audience than an American audience?
No, I hate German audiences.
Really? Okay, we're going to check out one of your cuts called ZNS. Now, you put together a video for this. Now, how did that work out?
No, we didn't put. We've done a whole film.
Okay,
It's a 1 hour film, and ZNS is a part in that. Yeah.
Okay, now how did that work? Who did you shoot that with, and what was involved?
We've done it in Tokyo with a Japanese director called Sogo Ishii, and it was contemplated for the home video market, and is sold in Japan as a 1 hour length video cassette. It's not sold in America till now, and it's not sold in Europe till now.
Now, do you try to incorporate other elements, like visual elements, into the show, or
no?
Do you have other plans to sort of to do other films, to get involved with other directors?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about it.
Don't want to talk about it, huh? Okay, well, why don't we check out the track ZNS?
Okay.
And
I know it anyway.
We'll come back for more conversation right after this. 89U and ZNS from Einstürzende Neubauten from their last album called Halber Mensch. That stands for Central Nervous System, as it's translated. We're talking with Blixa Bargeld. Now, what kind of things do you do for the band? Are you lead singer, lead guitarist?
Yeah, the head.
The head. Okay. Now, how about the other? How many other people are there in the band? And
4.
Okay.
More.
Now, how did you guys get together?
Well, the band was growing for a couple of years, from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 people.
Okay. Now, you haven't always been playing with found equipment. This was sort of a later development.
Partly.
What kind of music were you playing before you got started with this?
I've had a punk band before.
Okay. Were you into the punk scene? Did you like having the punk band?
Sure.
What made you change?
What made me change? The times are changing.
Okay. Now, you're going to be having a show going down tonight at the Palladium, and that's over on 14th Street right here in Manhattan. Have you guys are famous for having to go around and find your equipment. Have you already gone around and looked around to solve the roadie problem? Now, do you like touring? Do you like playing a lot of dates? Do you play a lot of concert dates?
I like touring.
Okay. Now, have your shows sort of calmed down since your shows a couple of years ago, where there are a lot of fires on stage? The shows were pretty much dangerous. Just a lot of moving around.
Well, you know, there was very much. After that, there was a lot of people just came in expecting us to do something like that, and that was pretty boring for us.
So now, what kind of things are you trying to do in your show now? Now that you've
Lose control.
Now that you've toned it down, do you try to get the audience involved in what's going on stage? So it's just
not at all.
Okay, so just sort of a straight performance.
No, we never try to get the audience involved in what we're doing.
Are you trying to alienate them? Are there any specific ideas?
They just have to be there. They have to be as I am ear witnesses, but they don't have to be involved in what we're doing on stage.
Okay. Now, your last album that you put out was called Halber Mensch. Now, how that was put together last year. Now, how did that get put together? How long did that take to get set up?
Oh, I don't know, 4 months.
Okay. Now, was that a tough process? Is that just something you don't want to go through again?
The album before was a really tough process, but this album wasn't that hard to do. It was more straight way of working.
Okay. Now, on a 12-inch that you put out last year, there was a song called Sand, which is an old Lee Hazelwood tune, which people got a real kick out of. What made you pick a song from the 60s? What made you
that's got to do something as well with a destructive image as well. I thought it was necessary to put something on the other side of the balance, to show people that there's a different side to what we're doing as well.
Okay. Now, is this something you're going to pursue in the future? The idea?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
What kind of ideas are you working on for the new album? What can we expect from the next?
Well, we're working very much on recording strategies at all, like on the way we are recording. We try to record all together in one room.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what's going to be? Are there specific? You're talking about sort of the found parts and deterioration, and are there? What kind of concepts are you working with there? That whole idea of deconstruction.
So I don't know what's the question on that.
Is there some reason for using found objects, for trying to use these for like old pop songs, old 60s songs?
Well, if you haven't got any other instruments, you have to use things like that, I guess.
Okay. Now, do you use any of the standard instruments when you're doing a
I
show?
play guitar.
Okay. And what about the other members in the band?
Well, there's a bass guitar player.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. And then you
There's
just use,
another guitar player even.
so 2 guitar players and a bass.
Yeah, I don't play very much guitar, but I usually have it hanging around me.
Okay. Now, do you prefer singing to getting involved with the instruments? You're talking about how you have the other members in the band out looking around for equipment. Now, are you sort of separate from them?
No, but there have to be a kind of a, you have to split up the work. I can't do everything. So everybody is more or less responsible for his own stuff.
Okay. Now, can you envision what's going to be happening in the future? You were talking about how you had a punk band and sort of switched over to this found objects. Is this something you're going to be able to pursue for a long time, or?
Well, till I'm 60, I guess.
So is there will there be a lot of opportunities to sort of develop this sound? Are you finding problems with composing songs this way?
No, we haven't got any problems.
Okay. What we'd like to do is just check out the song Sand, and we can expect an album coming up in the next 3 or 4 months?
Well, there's a re-release of an album called Strategies Against Architecture that wasn't released in America in that time, which is called
Now
Strategies Against Architecture 1980 to 1983, and it's like a compilation of material of that time.
Okay. Now, is there a sense of progress from those albums to your newer work?
Well, it's pure stagnation from 1980 on.
Okay. Do you feel like there have been new ideas coming in? Has it?
No, I think it's all really old ideas already.
Okay. Well, why don't we check out Sand now?
Okay, I have to go to the sound check then.
Okay. And checking out those found instruments, Einstürzende Neubauten. They'll be performing at the Palladium tonight. Want to thank Blixa Bergeld for stopping by, and hope the show goes well.
Fine.
This is Sand on WNYU FM's New Afternoon Show.